Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hi, welcome to TFYLP, episode 533. We're live tonight. It is Monday, June 19th. I'm Lucas. I am joined tonight by Peter.
Forever Destron.
And Phil.
What's going on out there, internet people?
And an incognito Nick.
Hi, everybody.
So, we're trying to keep his identity a secret or something like that, so we have audio only.
Yeah, I'm a top secret informant, would you believe?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that one time when Paul tried to pretend that he was, secret agent or something like that. Like whatever, so.
Yeah, where he was like the secret scalper.
Or yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I apologize to everyone for, I think originally we posted 9:15, decided to push it to 9:30, just kind of getting everybody together and whatnot. And this is partially why we had moved things off of Monday night, because it's hard for us to make it earlier, but here we are.
So we got 15 minutes to hit this. Let's hit the ground running. Let's go.
Why would you pull up that old picture of me?
Trying to find a photo of you that, didn't have other people in it and stuff. There's one of... That's not Shia LaBeouf. That's that boy... This is that Boy Meets World guy.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Here you go. This is
the uncanceled Savage.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. There you go. So, yeah, we got a lot of things going on in Transformers here. Last week you guys talked about... You did your spoiler cast on the new movie, right?
We did. Peter liked it. And Nick, have you seen it yet?
I'm waiting for streaming.
Okay.
Disappointing.
Lucas, I think you said you enjoyed it.
Yeah. My kids really liked it. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely up there. I'd say it's top 3 for me as far as the new live action movies.
That's a low bar.
Wow. I mean,
At some point, you've got to play nice, man. At some point, you've got to stop being so cynical.
What? You said this to me?
I'm displayed in front of a bunch of GoBots, man. I'm here to show love.
Nick,
oh
have you done the GoBots movie yet on your Infinite Pain list?
No. I don't know if we can do that one. Yeah. I wouldn't want to bring down the wrath of Hanna-Barbera or whoever owns the animation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera is still around?
Well,
They're owned by
it's Warner Brothers, essentially.
Yeah, so do you want HBO Max to come eat your lunch? No,
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah.
I'm sure that movie is available on streaming on Max, right?
All right. So for those of you who don't know, my oldest son's name is Max, and now that HBO switched over to that, I'll get the emails and it's just titled Max, and it's what's on new on this week on that streaming, and it's seeing an email pop up in your inbox that just says Max. All right, what did my kid do now? It's nope, it's about some freaking new streaming thing.
So
it's annoying.
But yeah, so Nick, you should definitely check out the new movie. So it was definitely fun. So
Yeah, I intend to watch it as soon as it hits streaming. I'm not going to the movie theater. I'm not paying money for this. I'm already paying for streaming services.
Understandable.
I was in disagreement.
Come down to Florida, and I will pay your own way to get to Florida, and I will take you to the movie. You're welcome.
I feel like that defeats the point of not spending money on a movie ticket.
You're not spending money on a movie ticket.
Yeah.
You're spending money to come hang out with Peter.
Bingo.
Oh.
And that's priceless. I
That's
noticed
true.
that you skipped me last time. You're grounded.
Oh. We tried to meet up, but we were busy. You were busy. I was busy. We couldn't make it work.
Everyone's busy. Yeah.
I know.
Life did not
sound like my dad.
find a way.
Can't have a catch, Dad. I guess you're just too damn busy, huh?
Oh, jeez.
Now I'm stuck collecting toys the rest of my life.
And the cradle with the silver spoon.
But yeah, so we got the movie. We got the. I guess there's a live stream tomorrow, right? Where they're revealing some toys.
Indeed.
Is that true? So yeah, so we probably should have been better off, doing this after. But hey, it's fine. But we really want to focus on the new comic that is coming out.
Well, wait. We did get some toy reveals and orders that came up last week.
Oh yeah.
So the Toxitron. The Toxitron toys leaked, like the whole lineup of Toxitron toys leaked. So we got Laser Cycle Not Jazz, that was new, had not been seen before. We got a new G2 Sideswipe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally.
And then we had actually go up for sale some of the buzzworthy sets. We got Dying Ironhide paired with Dying Prowl in a 2-pack. And then we got a re-release of Studio Series Grimlock from the Bayverse Grimlock, Age of Extinction. And then we've got a 4-pack of Army Builder Transformers, of which I think Peter was probably the only one who saw the green guy and knew off the bat who he was.
Yeah, I would have never put that together.
Yeah. So... yeah,
because I'm not just wiki smart. I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah. And then Anna was super excited because there's a Kiss Player toy head in there.
It's an animated toy.
Yeah.
It's an animated toy that homages Kiss Players.
Okay. But Anna's excited regardless of the fact.
Yeah.
And then no one's happy about not Skywarp.
Well,
I don't know. I kind of like him.
It's
not
more
Thundercracker,
yeah.
Yeah.
Even though Anna was supposedly excited, I think she was still on the fence about actually ordering it.
If she wants the Auto Rooper, I'll take the G2 guys to hang out with my G-Axis. Anna, if you're listening, I'll split a pack with you, multiple packs. I need like 7 of them. You can have half of my Auto Roopers, and they're Auto Roopers, not Auto Troopers, just so everyone's clear.
Wouldn't they be Auto Looper?
No.
So, were you able to actually order them, or are you going to do the thing with Target where you order them and then they cancel?
Yeah.
Did I even bother to try? No, I've given up. I've given up on pre-orders altogether. I'd rather just be mad at the store and everyone who has one when I don't than even make the attempt. And then I'll spend more on the back end. It's a win for cynicism.
Well, there you go.
That's Peter single-handedly.
Peter truly dances to the beat of his own drum. Yeah. See? Look at him go.
So I'm also curious, and this goes for everybody in the chat too. Who has ordered the pack with Ironhide and Prowl?
I have.
I did.
No one.
I don't know if I'm going to keep both of them.
I want your Ironhide if you're going to get rid of him, because it looks like he's not molded in clear plastic like the Studio Series 86 normal version, which means he's like molded in red. So if the reds match, you can do some part swapping. You know,
have one that won't shatter on you.
Have one that won't shatter on you.
What a fucking concept!
What a concept! Orson agrees.
Baby,
right? This is Orson. He's my friend.
Oh.
So the thing that annoys me about this pack, right, is, and I don't know, like, do you guys like the gimmick? First off, about those,
they're not dead
Which
enough.
Gimmick? The dying gimmick or the? Yeah, I agree with Nick.
Yeah, the shot through
needs to be like
chest.
Mouth.
Yeah, they need alternate heads on fire.
Yes.
Ironhide just needs to have a missing head with a scorch mark on his neck ball.
Ugh.
You know. Let's do this.
What annoys me about this set, right, is that in order to get the absolute perfect painted version, like that looks really like the animation, I have to have a stupid shot through the chest or whatever of the thing. I don't want that. Can you just give me the like the Ironhide is kind of the same thing, where it's like it's not in the clear plastic. It actually has a stripe down the side. Like it looks really good. Same thing with the Prowl. Like I really like it how they have those, the blue cell shaded windows. But no, and I know, Peter, that you're just going to tell me, well, in 5 years they're just going to re-release this again with the slightly better version.
So you're telling me they're giving you an incremental improvement and you're going for it. You're going to spend the money, and in 4 years, Lucas, let's be realistic, okay? 4 years. You're going to get another one, and it'll be another couple steps forward and half a step back, and it'll have, I don't know, no accessories or missing. It'll be Prowl 2. It'll be Prowl 2, also from Final Tech-y era, and it'll have the wrong head. It'll have Chip Chase's head. Hologram Chip Chase head. It'll be a hologram head of Chip Chase.
And then they'll finally give us a Devastator Prowl head, but it'll be in scale of deluxe size Prowl. Will be way too small to fit on a Devastator toy.
And it'll be yellow for no reason. Yeah. Because don't you guys love G2? You guys went crazy for the G2 capsule toys. Aren't you just a bunch of suckers? And we're all going to buy it.
I'm putting my foot down, man. I'm not buying like.
He had the nerve to call me cynical.
But Nick, I guess you're still on the everything train, right?
Yep, for the moment.
for the most part. I mean, I guess that there are some lines that have been drawn, right? The Robocin or whatever kind of deal, but I think it's easy not to count that. So
yeah. So I did buy 5 of the Troop Builder set. God knows if the ones from Target actually show up, as you said. But that means I got to find another 5 in store because I want 10. And we'll see what happens. We'll see where I get to with that.
I'm really looking forward to seeing that display, Nick.
Someday. When they bury me, they'll build it around me.
The display of the 10 packages that get sealed into a bin?
Oh, no, they all get opened.
Oh, okay.
He stacks them floor to ceiling. He stacks them up real big.
Oh, don't tell people how I live.
It's like I'm replicating New York City, but out of Transformers boxes.
Oh, God. All right, well, is there some way I can put a picture of this up in chat? Oh, you know what? I can send a picture to Peter right now, and he can show everybody.
Yeah. Nick Zilla, and he just like stomps around.
This is the view from my bed at the moment.
You sending me something?
If I can take a picture without any laundry in it.
All right, this is riveting podcasting action, folks. Someone's sending me a photo so I can show it to the people who aren't able to see it.
So you can embarrass me live on stream.
We use technology.
Anyway. But then it'll just like have the reflection of us in the background there.
The reflection of a very naked Nick. No, not so much.
Floor
to ceiling.
This is why you have to get a bigger house.
I know,
right?
Star Wars. It's fine. I was watching something with Millennium Falcon.
There was a guy, actually a collector here in Kansas City, that bought his neighbor's house. Like, so the house went up for sale next to his house, and he bought that house so that he could have his collection of the other house.
That's
awesome.
That's what I told girl we're doing with the place next door. The guy that sings way too loud when he's mowing his lawn, he has his noise canceling headphones and he just sings.
Aww.
It's adorable and obnoxious, and I want to buy his
singing? What are some of his favorite tunes there?
He likes slow jams.
Oh no.
Yeah. Like passionate mid-90s slow jams.
Oh my God. How can you follow on to that?
Luther Vandross?
Yes. Yes. Like that cloth right there.
Oh jeez.
It's outstanding.
Wow.
You need to take a video of that. That sounds fantastic.
Okay. Florida man mowing his lawn.
Yeah, but this is a very different take on Florida Man.
Who's a
come
Florida
up
man who
later.
isn't going to hurt anybody, you know?
Yeah. No,
Well, then you find out he's on bath salts and he mowed over like his neighbors' faces.
I'm his neighbor.
I know.
Wow.
Don't worry, Peter. It would be an improvement.
So,
Oh,
So
jeez.
that would make us rivals, and I want to avoid my rivals. So we'll go into a space where we can.
Oh,
Oh,
what
what
was
a
the topic
segue!
tonight? Yeah,
This
there
man's
you
a
go.
professional.
So yeah, so I guess technically we don't have Transformers comics yet, right? It's called Void Rivals, I guess, is
Yep.
the current one. So some Kirkman guy or something, I don't know.
Robert Kirkman.
Mr.
don't
Walking
know.
Dead, Mr. Invincible himself,
Yeah.
Robert
He's so
Kirkman.
special just because he does Walking Dead. I mean, like, that's made some money, I guess.
Just a little bit.
So, yeah. So, yeah, Nick, I guess I don't know. What's the story on this whole Image and Transformers stuff?
Well, can we
So-
pause and just like for those people who don't know, Nick, are you comfortable telling everyone what your day job is?
Yeah, I own St. Mark's Comics. I own a comic book shop in Brooklyn. So that's what
So
I
Miles,
do.
it says Spider-Man.
What's that?
Miles is your Spider-Man.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, when I'm not stuck in bed flat on my back because my back went out, I run a comic shop. That's the short answer.
So this is something that's pertinent to you on a couple different levels.
Yeah, you could say that. So, let's see. What do you need to know? Void Rivals #1 is basically Enemy Mine, if you know the trope, where these two individuals from opposite sides of a galactic war find themselves stranded on an alien planet, and they have to either work together to survive or kill each other. So all of that goes down, and then in the last 7 or 8 pages of the book, Jetfire shows up out of nowhere.
Just
He goes, "Hi,
they're
I'm
like-
Jetfire," and then he leaves.
It says, "Hi, I'm Jetfire. Man, I've been asleep a long time. Oh, I got wind erosion. I'm out."
Yeah, he does his poochie. I have
Yeah.
to go back to my home planet.
I must go now. My planet needs me. Let's hope that Jetfire doesn't die on the way back to his home planet.
Yeah. He'll be there with Poochie and Cara Dune.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, they find a spaceship and they're like, "Hey, cool, we found a spaceship. We don't have to try and repair our own spaceship. Let's use this spaceship." And they get it powered up, and all of a sudden, like, it starts rumbling, and then the next page is a big splash page of our guy Jetfire, and he must go find Cybertron. And then, yeah, the book does continue for like 2 more pages where it's like, you know, the story of Void Rivals is still continuing.
Mm-hmm.
These characters are going to have an actual story. And like Nick mentioned, it's very reminiscent of Enemy Mine, which was like Lou Gossett Jr. and Dennis Quaid in 1986 or so, which was a movie based on World War II drama where 2 pilots crash land on an island together, a Japanese dude and an American dude, and they have to like work together to do whatever, except Enemy Mine takes some twists and turns, which are fun. But yeah, this is neat. We've seen this story before. You've seen it in cartoons where the good guy character and the bad guy character. There was a season 2 G.I. Joe episode where Slipstream and a Strato Viper both crash, and they have to like team up and do things like, "You're my enemy, but we got to be pals for the next 5 minutes. When next we meet, we will be enemies." And then, but then Jetfire shows up in this comic, so that's pretty neat, and the art's good.
Yeah,
and there are little sprinkles of ads throughout the book saying what's coming.
Right. So the next 3 titles that are going to launch in this new Energon universe, because that's the big tag right there. This is the Energon universe. is Transformers #1, and followed by Duke #1 of G.I. Joe, and followed by Cobra Commander #1, also of G.I. Joe. Now, it was explained to me that at any given moment they will have 4 titles running in this Energon universe, and as one title ends, they'll rotate others in. But it's going to be 4 books at any given time, probably so that there can be, one book a week in terms of the shipping pattern.
And who is writing and drawing the Transformers book, Nick?
Transformers book is Daniel Warren Johnson.
And what podcast has some interviews with Daniel Warren Johnson up on their YouTube page right now?
Why, I think we do.
Oh, do any other podcasts have interviews with Daniel Warren Johnson up on their YouTube page right now?
Not in this context.
No, they do not. They do not. So please go check it out. If we get enough likes, enough views, we might put an extended version of the whole thing. There's a few more tidbits in there. We'll tease it out there. Give us your likes, give us your shares, give us your views, and you might get a few more tidbits out of Mr. DWJ.
He's a very talented guy. I can't wait to see his Transformers book. His most recent book is Do a Powerbomb, which if you haven't read it, you should. It's a wrestling comic, but goddamn, it's awesome. His art is just fantastic. He'll be writing and drawing the Transformers book, and he will have someone coloring him, I believe.
Yeah, also check out his Instagram page. He's got some Transformer drawings on his Instagram page from, obviously a lot recently since the news hit, but even before the news hit, he's got some very cool drawings. He did a really cool Star Wars book. He's a guy that can do a real simple, like one character page that has a ton of energy to it. And then he can do a sprawling battle scene with like 40 TIE fighters and X-Wings all blasting each other out of space. And it's awesome looking regardless, how much detail there is on the page. He really is an artist that I'm a big, big fan of his style.
Yeah, he's got a ton of detail and just a ton of kinetic energy in a way that a lot of other guys can't do.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. Zaldrin asks, when do the graphic novels drop? As Peter responded, after the story arcs are over, which typically means 5 to 6 issues or 5 to 6 months after that first issue drops.
And then probably 2 or 3 months after the final issue, you'll get the graphic novel?
No, usually with Image, they'll have that. If 1 through 6 is the first story arc, when issue 7 drops, that graphic novel will be out, so you can catch up right away.
Oh, okay. Wow, they're quicker than I realized.
In general, I don't want to swear to it, but that's usually what they do.
And so, can we pause and talk about the idea of this being Image, but Nick, for those who don't know, how does Image work as a comic book publisher?
Right. So Image is actually it's the next step up from self-publishing. So if you want to publish your own comic book, you bring it to Image, and if it's good enough, they say, "Great, we will publish that. We will publish that for you." And basically, because it's all self-publishing, there are smaller imprints and houses that do their own thing. Skybound is one. That's the guys who are doing the Transformers, and then I don't know if you guys remember Top Cow or Shadowline, or for a while Cliffhanger was an Image, but when Wildstorm went to DC, they went with. So there are a bunch of smaller publishing houses in Image, right? In fact, Devil's Due started out there when they were doing the G.I. Joe comic, and that's why those first few G.I. Joe comics say Image instead of Devil's Due. And then when Devil's Due split off to be its own separate entity, the G.I. Joe comic just said Devil's Due after that.
Was Dreamwave originally part of Image?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That was that was right when I started at the comic shop. So there was a little gap in my comic history from when I stopped reading the Max until I started working in the comic shop again.
Okay. The Max was an Image book.
Yeah.
Image got us started back in the 90s, back during the whole surge of books selling millions of copies at a time. and the story was you had all these artists who were like the top 5-6 artists of their generation saying like, hey, listen, we are making Marvel and DC truckloads of money, and we're not getting any equity in this. We want to get a little more equity, especially if we're going to create some new characters. So Todd McFarlane went off, left Spider-Man, created Spawn, and that was a huge hit. Rob Liefeld left X-Force and created Youngblood, and that was a hit. Jim Lee went off and left X-Men and created Wildcats, and that was a hit. And then you had Eric Larson, who was drawing Spider-Man,
Savage Dragon.
Which is that the only one? Oh, Spawn is still being published.
Yep, that's true.
Mark Silvestri was doing like a, I don't even know what book he was drawing at the time when Image started, but he started his Top Cow imprint with Cyber Force and then Witchblade and the Darkness and that sort of thing. So for those of you who weren't reading comics in the 90s, these were all like books that were every kid going into a comic book shop was buying, all those and all their variant covers and the holograms and all that sort of stuff. Oh yeah. It was very, very pretty pictures with horrendous plots.
Gen 2, G.I. Joe. That's all we ever did. Gen 2, G.I. Joe.
Don't get me wrong. Not everyone was buying those, but I'm sure, Peter, you remember walking into a comic book shop and seeing the posters and seeing those books everywhere.
My comic book guy convinced multiple times, like, why are you transforming? Stop. This is where it's at. This is I'm good.
Yeah. with great characters like Badrock and and Priest, was that his name, or Preacher?
No.
Vogue is one of those names. And then Wildcat with Spartan and Warblade and Maul and Voodoo. Force, there's Ripclaw, who was a Wolverine, Velocity, and Striker was the guy.
These are all Transformer names, so.
For some reason, I don't know, the stream seems to kind of be crapping out for me. I'm sure it probably is for everybody at home as well. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
I can
we're
hear
all
you,
here.
but I've never been able to see you.
It's fine.
Yeah, like everybody else, I don't know what's going on.
I can see you just fine. You're moving just fine. Catherine does roboting, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, like, really into robots. If you're really into robots, then that's what we're gonna do here. And everyone goes the robot apparently. Thanks, Alden.
Yeah.
How do you?
So, here.
I don't know what the heck to do here.
A long way to run.
Now we just need to edit that out. So
Yeah.
get on.
We'll fix it in post.
We'll do it live. Oh wait.
Oh jeez.
And by edit out, we mean anyone who watched this, we got to kill you now.
You just gotta forget the last 10 minutes.
God.
If you don't mind.
Oh,
But you know what
this
you
is
shouldn't
great.
forget is Void Rivals.
No.
Right.
Yes.
World Rivals. That's where we are.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So back to I don't know where were we at. You guys had like a whole 5 minutes of conversation that didn't really get recorded because it was the internet.
So
It was a lot
talking
of bullshit.
about the
Basically, the history of Image.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, Nick, you were talking about how Skybound is an imprint under Image.
That is
and
correct.
it is run by Mr. Robert Kirkman.
Who?
And we've said it already, but let's just reiterate. Who is he and why do we like him?
Robert Kirkman is Mr. Walking Dead and Mr. Invincible. So, among other things, he's done a lot of other stuff too, but those are his two biggest books.
He's a big Transformers fan.
He is actually.
It should be noted. He collects.
He is a huge Transformers fan and has been for years. In fact, back when my pal TJ was working for the IDW Art Gallery, Kirkman was apparently making calls around looking for the original box art because he wanted to buy it. So I don't know if he was ever successful in that, but good luck on that hunt, buddy.
I'm sure he was in some form or fashion. It's out there. It's out there.
Actually, I don't know that it's out there. That's the kind of thing that could have stayed in Hasbro's archive.
I know that there's original box art out there.
Yeah, No,
I
no,
know, I
sure.
know.
But specifically the back of the box art, like the group shots, you know?
Oh, you mean
The
the
murals, you know?
words? Words are hard. You know who would have
The
that? You
battle
know who,
scenes.
battle scenes. You know who would have that? Is that dude? Um, he's at shows sometimes. He like paints up tables and stuff. He does car art. What's his name? I'll find him.
Hmm.
Talk Void Rivals.
Zoldra in the chat says that all of this is probably just in Rick's
In
basement.
Rick's basement.
Yeah.
So no, it's
It
not
was
even
in
in his
Hasbro
basement.
archives.
It's still in his garage. He still hasn't actually taken it out of the boxes to put in the basement yet.
Now I want to write the movie where like we Ocean's 11 Rick's house.
Oh. And
Um,
the question is will he even notice?
eventually.
Yeah, at some point he's like, what did I do with that again?
I can imagine like his wife finding us and he's like, just please take more with you.
Peter, you be the George Clooney and I'll be the Brad Pitt, all right?
I don't know what that means. I've never seen those movies, but okay.
What? Oh my god!
I just want to be Topher Grace. That's just like constantly like got some weird addiction issues.
Oh, that's great.
Did any of you read the interviews that Kirkman did last week?
I did indeed.
They were pretty good. Like one of the things he is known for in his books is killing characters.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he said in these interviews the reason he is a fan of killing off characters is the shock he got from watching the Transformers '86 movie in the theater.
Yep.
And like just Optimus Prime and all those G1 dudes just getting axed, like that made him realize the dramatic impact of what happens when you kill off a character and what that can do to an audience member.
So if Glenn getting a bat to the head deeply affected you, you can thank the death of Optimus Prime for it.
Exactly. Thank Transformers. So, yeah.
Just over and over and over again. So, I guess, like, is Kirkman essentially the editor of all the books, like the overarching universe, or is he writing any of the books himself?
He is writing Void Rivals.
Okay.
He is not writing the G.I. Joe books. I don't know if Void Rivals, when this first arc wraps up, if it's going to rotate out or if it's going to keep going. I think that's going to depend on sales. So I don't know if he'll step out to write something else or if he'll keep writing this.
But that is a good question, Lucas. That is a good question of who is steering the overall ship. Kirkman in the interview certainly seems like he's got his hands in how the overall ship is being steered, but we'll see what the day-to-day looks like on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to imagine, big a Transformer fan as he is, he's going to want to write something at some point.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they'll do like an Optimus Prime miniseries or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, the way that they're doing a Duke and a Cobra Commander.
Mark Watts.
But we figure that Kirkman's kind of like the John Barber, if you're looking at a parallel, right, between IDW and this maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and his Invincible book was part of a shared universe. Mm-hmm. That you know, there would be other characters that were in Invincible that were from other titles that he was writing and vice versa. So he has written larger universes before, just because Invincible, you know, was a comic you could really read standalone. And obviously Walking Dead was as well, but he has done bigger shared universe kind of things in the past.
Mm-hmm.
My other question is am I going to actually have to buy all these G.I. Joe books in order to get...
No. They're very specific about this. They have said on record.
It's in the letters page.
Yeah, you don't have to buy them all. You only have to buy the ones you like. You will get an added benefit if you read them all, but you don't need to read them all to make sense of anything.
Yeah. It says basically in the back of the book, it's like, hey, welcome to the Energon universe. G.I. Joe Transformers Void Rivals for now. G.I. Joe is going to be self-feedy G.I. Joe with some sprinkles. It's It's going to feed into the adventures of the Transformers, which are going to be on Earth and in space, whatever, with some sprinkles. And Void Rivals is going to be all in space for now, with some sprinkles. So you will get a larger picture if you buy everything, as one does with a shared universe. But it's not going to be like, as of right now, won't be like the Hasbro-verse thing they did at IDW, where you had to buy every single issue of every single thing, or else nothing made sense. And even if you did, nothing made sense.
Didn't make sense. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So speaking of Hasbro Universe,
until Visionaries comes out.
I don't know if they have the Visionaries license.
That's a good point.
Some of these licenses went to
Marvel.
Marvel, like ROM. ROM is at Marvel now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there was one other. Micronauts went to Marvel.
Yeah.
So the things that are up in the air are Mask and Visionaries, I believe. Now, I have a strong suspicion that Mask will wind up at Skybound if the rest of the stuff does well, but I don't know that for sure. I can also tell you this, and this is a thing that I haven't seen written anywhere yet, but was told to me. Void Rivals is a Hasbro property.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is not it's not like it's a Skybound thing. It's a Hasbro property.
It's going to be
like
my
understanding that they own it.
Yeah, when you look in the book, it's Void Rivals, property of Hasbro.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So Kirkman, but like Void Rivals didn't exist before now, right?
Right.
But then I guess they essentially sold that to the rights to Hasbro, I guess.
I don't know what's the chicken.
I would think it would be the other way around.
The original, way the Transformers and G.I. Joe were developed, where Hasbro went to a comic book company and said, "Hey, we have this new property we want you to develop. Please do so."
It's the Trojan horse that opens up all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Hasbro first.
So
it's a Waller one.
Are we going to get toys of Void Rivals? And Nick, will you feel compelled to buy these toys?
No, I won't be buying any Void Rivals toys. Now, here's the real question. Does Hasbro care about making toys anymore? Or is this just IP for movies? IP for video games? IP for other licensing tie-ins? Why do new tooling and make new toys for an untested line? Now if they license it out to make a movie out of Void Rivals, then I could see there being toys. But just based on the comic, I would be very, very surprised.
Yeah, toys without any other media behind them besides the comic don't sell well. Especially not like at like a Walmart or Target or Amazon. Yeah, I mean, even books that sell as many issues a month as like Saga. Like,
right.
They did some small release toy lines, but nothing significant.
Yeah. And they definitely underperformed, sadly. They were good figures too, and they underperformed. I was very sad about that.
Yeah.
When was the last time that Hasbro created a new property?
Well, they do it all the time, but we just don't pay any attention because so much of it skews so much younger.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like they have like Rescue Bots and things like that, but I mean, it's still an offshoot of like Transformers. Whereas, no. What?
No, I mean, yeah, Rescue Bots is offshoot of Transformers, but they do other things other than Transformers, G.I. Joe, Star Wars, which is owned by Lucasfilm, and Power Rangers, which is owned by Saban or whoever.
Oh, it's owned by Hasbro. They bought it out.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. It's been a couple of years now. No, fiddle farts. Why make anything new when
they do the most these days is buy other IP
and drive nostalgia. They're just riding that nostalgia train because they know that we're going to keep coughing up money for the wrong Ironhide because the best Deco Prowl that we can get has flames not even coming out of his mouth. So we're going to need an updated Dead Prowl in 3 years. I need updated
But I mean,
Dead
that's
Prowl
why they bought Entertainment One was for what was it, Peppa Pig or something? Or Olivia? Which thing was it? I forget.
Right. But these are all established properties. Like my question is when was the last time they created a property like, you have all this stuff that they created back in the 80s in order to sell toys or whatever, right? And in the 90s. But like, I don't recall where they actually tried to create a new thing. Like, it's almost more trying to revive stuff, like, trying to revive ROM and Visionaries and whatever it may be.
Well,
ROM
wasn't there
is so weird. There was one ROM toy in 1978. That was ROM. And then he was a Marvel book based on a single toy that even in 1978, I wouldn't have been impressed with it because I'm a jerk. But, I'm sure someone was impressed enough to greenlight a book for it.
Japan was making much cooler robots in 1978.
Much cooler robots.
Yeah. I want to say there was some like combination card game action figure thing that. But even that's a thing that they brought over from Japan, and not a thing that they created whole cloth.
Oh, the Bakugan, where you put the card on the magnet on the ball thing.
No,
yeah.
There was something after that too.
Oh.
No, so they're not Bakugan.
Shin Pokemon.
Was it not Duel Masters, right?
Was Beyblade?
I mean, Rick is probably the guy to ask on this, to be honest, right? Like, I'm sure that he could probably come up or, say that.
Well, I mean, I think, Lucas, this is a flawed question because even going back to G.I. Joe was a rehashed property. Transformers were
all licensed.
Really Transformers.
They were just licensed molds.
Yeah. So
someone flew to Japan to get those cool Japanese robots and then said, hey, Marvel, make a story.
Right, but the story and characters were all original for Hasbro.
Right, but I mean, we're not. I don't even want to fault Hasbro for this because this is not just Hasbro that's doing this. This is every media company that's out there. Like, look at all the movies that are coming out this summer. Like, how many of them are new concepts versus sequel? Not even like a movie based on an existing property, but the movies are coming out that are sequels and. Part of franchises.
Elemental, and it bombed over the weekend. So
there you go.
So new ideas fail because there are robots and spider peoples and flashes and who knows what other recognizable thing that you can.
I didn't even know that Elemental was out this weekend.
Yeah,
I thought it was coming out this coming weekend. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? My kid saw it and he enjoyed it.
He can enjoy it all he wants. I'm just saying the box office return was not great. NPR was telling me all about it today.
Yeah.
I really want to see that too. I just didn't know it was out.
I like the stuff they do.
So. It'll probably be on streaming pretty soon from the box office returns. I just feel bad. Hopefully Pixar is not it's not good news.
I liked Lightyear. I thought Lightyear was fun.
I never actually saw it. My kids liked it. Okay.
Yeah, but it's just but the perception is going to be now we've got two stinkers in a row. So almost like
and they had a bunch that went straight to streaming too. Like they had that Soul movie, which was really good. I think
Soul
Luca,
was great.
I think was another one, and that Seen Red, I think. So yeah,
Turning Red was fucking phenomenal.
But wasn't
easily one of my favorite
Pixar?
movies.
I thought that was just Disney.
Is it just Disney? I can't remember.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought that was Pixar.
It's computer animated though, so everything computer animated is Pixar, as far as I know, in the world.
Beyond, is that the name of the Pixar one, where it was like the fantasy world, but like modern day? What's that? Onward. Yeah.
That was pretty good. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was a little smaller scale than I thought it would be, but not bad.
Oh, with the Manticore?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that movie was just like hard for me to watch because it was like COVID. Everything just tastes awful. Like, not that I had COVID. It's just like everything then just had.
It just sort of colored the world for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like nothing was like fully enjoyable at that time.
Yep.
It's like, I'm glad we get to watch this movie. It would have been cool to see in the theater.
So, so back to Void Rivals. So it sounds like this is. I mean, I'm assuming comics in general, they are, creating a lot more news stories because, it's just kind of the way comics work. But
and it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper to create new material in comics, than it is to create a new television show or a new movie, or even a new video game franchise. You can write, a 6-issue miniseries, And if it hits and hits big, you've got your tested IP that you could then turn into a feature film. So I wonder if that's not some of what's going on here.
Yeah.
I mean, this was something that I brought up. I don't know if I brought up in the full chat or just with Peter. Like Transformers comics, the way we get Transformers media these days, Transformers comics are going to be our most frequent interaction with Transformers fiction, with new Transformers fiction. Because we're going to get, hopefully more batches of Transformers Earthspark, but those will be like every 6 months.
Right.
Granted, you're going to get a drop of like 8-10 episodes at a time, but you're almost getting like graphic novel level storytelling with the cartoon.
Yeah.
The movies
until Hasbro decides to shift tack completely, and then Earthspark goes away.
Yeah. Which I don't know if I heard about season 2/3, so who knows if it has already just gone away. Hopefully that's not the case. The movies, we're going to get, Transformers 1 next year, allegedly. Who knows if the writer strike will push that back. We've seen Marvel push back some release dates of some of their movies already. So we're going to get a movie, maybe every year, every other year. So yeah, we don't even get bios on card backs anymore. And even when we do get bios for Transformer toys, these are like, oh, it's a Transformers Legacy toy. So we kind of know Bumblebee's bio. We're not getting anything new there.
It's a legacy toy. It's a one-sentence bio that's been translated into 5 other languages and takes up the whole back of the box.
Yeah.
This brave scout is the Autobot's best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's about Megatron, so it really doesn't work there.
Yeah. Remember when they used to have bios, you'd have to go online and scan the doodad, and then there'd be a bigger bio online? Remember when the website was good?
Vaguely.
I will say one thing just in general about Transformers media. So we've been on this podcast complaining about the lack of quality with Transformers media for a pretty long time now, right? And I will say it seems like we actually, hopefully, we don't know the comics yet. It seems like we're actually getting a decent run, because Earthspark was good. The new movie was again, the bar is very low, but it seemed like it was, cleared the bar from that perspective. It's not going to win any Academy Awards, but, it seems like that they're actually, Hasbro is serious about actually, trying to create, better media and stories. So.
Well, I've been saying for a while now, I think we're going to really benefit from their partnership with Paramount. Because Paramount really wants us to be a tentpole of their media and streaming services. So, yeah, they want to see that out there. Hasbro definitely had success both in the box office and critically with Dungeons & Dragons. So, and that was a movie that was, well received by a lot of different audiences. So, hopefully Hasbro is seeing the light that if they're always going to be toy first and media second as opposed to Disney, but hopefully they're seeing more of the light that if they are a little more story focused, that will drive more sales across the board. And Paramount being in part of that, I think helps. Yay.
But yeah, so we'll see. Obviously, we had 2 pages of Transformers comics so far, so it's hard to say. But the story at least was. I will say, reading this story, I actually enjoyed it compared to IDW Wave 3, and I know that Catherine, I think, enjoyed those books, but boy howdy, I had a hard time getting through those. I had to quit.
Bought every cover, own all of it, but man, did I stop reading with yep.
Well, at what point did you stop?
Skywarp showed up and people were going to alternate futures or something, and I was just like, what? I'm fine with multi-dimensional, multiversal, time travel-y, hoodly boop, but it was, I don't know, it was boring and flat, and someone's superpower is not storytelling. Introducing Skywarp the way they did and have people vomping all over the place to different time periods to find the Tribe-Tark guy, Tribe-Carkham Markham, I don't know his name. I was already checked out by then.
Yeah, I don't know. I checked out a lot sooner than
Trisarchon.
that. I mean, to me, I feel like all of those comics, and I apologize to those comic artists and writers for that run, but it just didn't. It felt second rate, to be honest. I mean, I think that a lot of the art, other than the covers that they got the old guys to do, old people to do, but like the art inside of them and the stories, it just seemed like that it was not up to the quality that you would expect.
Exarchon.
Yeah,
So
if only, Hasbro hadn't stuck their hands in and made them cross everything over, and then when that failed, reboot everything. Oh, the good stories they could have continued to tell.
But, I mean,
good
one thing I'll say is they
stories.
They had a continuous universe for, 13 years or something like that? I mean, that's a hell of a run.
Yeah.
And they did soft reboots successfully up to that point. They were able to kind of like, oh, that didn't work. Moving on and finding good storytellers, good writers to springboard off of and make new stories that were literally winning awards for them. And then they're like, put visionaries in there. It'll be fine.
And how did that work out
for you? Like, hey, this cow has got some milk in it. Let's see how much we can continue to milk it. And they overmilked it. And then instead of them realizing that they overmilked the cow, it's like, well, let's just shoot the cow and bring in a new one. Yeah. Versus realizing it was them as the farmers that were milking it too hard.
Right. That's right.
Surely it's not the children. Surely it's not me that's out of touch.
No, it is the children.
Yes.
So anyway, new farmers, new cows, new milk.
They seem to not be repeating the same mistakes, or at least that's the setup.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very slow build and a very slow burn and separate books, So
all right. So
I am optimistic. Let's put it that way.
So let's talk about the fact that we are talking about a Transformers comic, but we're not, because we're talking about Void Rivals. And we weren't talking about this before Void Rivals came out. We talked about it briefly last week, but we weren't talking about it 2 months ago when books are solicited. So, right. Nick, as someone who owns a comic book shop, how did this whole thing come about, from your point of view?
Well, now,
as a comic book shop owner, you saw solicitations in Previews magazine.
That is correct. When this book was solicited, it was solicited as Void Rivals #1, beginning a new universe. It's the biggest thing ever. It's huge. It's comics. It's new. It's #1. It's Robert Kirkman. You should totally buy it. But see, here's the problem with that. That's every comic book solicitation ever. It's always Spider-Man's greatest fight. They say it every month. And so how can you ever tell when it's really Spider-Man's greatest fight? You know what I mean? So it was a big, big secret. And nobody knew that there were going to be Transformers showing up in this book. Nobody knew that this was the Hasbro book. We all heard the rumor that Skybound had the license, but then we heard nothing else about it for a year and a half?
Something like that.
Something like that.
That's how it should go, professionally speaking. There's the industry rumbles, and then it should be quiet because everyone should be signing their NDAs and working feverishly to put out a quality product quietly to make everyone surprised and happy, which...
That's an interesting take. I completely disagree.
Okay. I want to be surprised. I like pleasant surprises. I never get them. This was one.
Yeah. I much prefer hey, we're doing this thing. It's this creative team. It's coming at this time, so that I can, order the book. Know
then
what
you have
I'm
a Dreamwave
ordering
situation.
Huh?
Then you have a Dreamwave situation where Pat Lee is making a Transformers book. Remember, Pat Lee's he did a thing in Wizard one time where he drew bad Transformers. He's going to do his own book full of Transformers. And we're going to order 5 billion copies at your one local comic shop. And you got to get every cover because they all do the connecty thing. It's going to be cool.
This is the same thing, man.
This has big crotch pointing Mirage. Look at him. Look at Mirage. Look at him go.
Here's my question.
Every shop ordered 100 copies. Why? To get the 1 in 100 variant. Why? Because it was the only Transformers cover on the book. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So this book was solicited only as Void Rivals. And then at some point, for some reason, they decided to have a secret retailer call. And they sent everybody an email and they were like, hey, retailers, sign up for this secret Skype call and, listen to us talk about our new book, Void Rivals. We're going to tell you the big secret. Be there. And so we signed up for the big secret phone call, and they swore everyone to secrecy, and to everyone's credit, it did not leak until the book shipped. But they were like, oh, by the way, it's a secret Transformers book, so order it like you'd order a new Transformers book that nobody knows about. And then everybody was able to boost their numbers to get that 1 in 100 variant. You see, that's how the game is played these days, sadly. You can't sell books based on their merit. You have to sell books to speculators, which makes me want to set my head on fire.
Which is I would much rather just
sell. Yes. I would much rather just sell a good book with one cover. But instead, every book on the market has, 10 to a dozen covers of various rarity, an A, a B, that are open to order, a 1 in 10, a 1 in 25, a 1 in 50, a 1 in 100. And if you want to get really crazy, if you're Marvel, a 1 in 250 or a 1 in 500. Or, if you want to get real dumb, you can go and buy your own store exclusive cover. See, where you got to order 1,000 copies of the book to get your own cover.
I have a few of those from a place called St. Mark's there in New York.
Well, the MOQs were smaller at the time. It was only 500.
Oh, there you go.
I got a few Ripped Apparel exclusive covers.
Yeah. So, the variant game, I think it's terrible for comic books in general. I understand why it exists. I just wish... I wish we could just get back to selling books because they're good.
Who would be crazy enough to have to collect every single variant cover?
Listen. We're not talking about what's wrong with me today. We're talking about what's wrong with the industry today.
Clearly, we're talking about what's wrong with me. He's not pointing at you.
Right.
Lucas, you monster.
I wasn't saying anything about Nick or Peter or Paul, maybe. I don't know if he's probably kind of similar, or Rick or anybody else. It's I'm sure that all of these properties, that's the whole reason they do it is that if you're a collector of whatever book, you have to have them all. Gotta chase them all.
Well, it's that and the guys who are
it's the speculator guys
trading stock. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
It's a hot artist, so it's going to be worth. I'll buy this book now for $100 and I'll flip it in 6 months for $300. And sometimes they hit and they can do that. But most times these days, you don't. You buy the book and it goes down.
Yeah.
That Void Rivals 1 in 100, the Tuesday it was coming out, it comes out on Wednesday, But that Tuesday, that book was hitting $300 to $400 on eBay. And then by the weekend, I want to say it was down to about $150, $200. So, I mean, who knows what the long term will hold. But, I just feel like variant covers and incentive variants, they reward bad behavior and they reinforce poor practices.
USA.
Well,
I just want to sell good books.
Just in general with St. Mark's is... For Transformers, how big of a property is that? If you compare Transformers to any Marvel and DC property or just like other various books is I feel like my local comic book shop, like Transformers doesn't really move the needle necessarily. Like they order them, they're more than happy. Like they have a stack of them with all their other books that they have, but it's not something where they're like, oh my god, a new Transformers book, like I have to like make sure and get on that one. Like whereas they would be for, you know, whatever the new Batman or like, wasn't there like a Fortnite Batman thing or something like it last year, year before, like stuff like that.
How does Transformers sell? Well, back when IDW was printing the good books, we were probably selling as much as maybe a B or C tier DC or Marvel book on the Transformers.
Those are booster gold numbers.
Yeah, that's probably a fair comparison.
Yeah.
But post-pandemic, everything is very, very different. And in our new store with our new location, all of the individual book numbers, the single issue numbers, are much, much different from what they used to be. And by that, I mean much, much smaller. So, like I said, we ordered 100 copies of Void Rivals. And remember that for comic shops, books aren't returnable. So it doesn't matter if we sell them out. It doesn't matter if we sell them through. All that matters is what we ordered from the publisher. That's all that they care about. So if they can get you to buy 100 copies and you only sell 10, but you sold that big expensive variant, so who cares? That's all they care about. Right? You see what I'm saying here? So how many will we actually sell through? Well, that's a good question. You know, we've probably 25% sold through so far. By the end of the month, I don't know. It's a new book. Let's see what happens. It would be nice if we could sell more than half of what we ordered. It would be great if we could sell out. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's interesting just in general with our, 24-hour news cycle sort of thing, where it's sort of just like, okay, that was last week's news. Let's move on now. Even for us doing this conversation today feels like the time of Void Rivals being, big hoopla and something to talk about already feels like we lost some of that momentum.
Well, we've got whatever Transformer Tuesday thing happening tomorrow, so we got to put the old news in the bin because that's old news. And the following week, we're going to be talking about, someone predict the future for me. Oh, Prime versus Prime is doing a Smash the Toys or whatever they do.
I think even our best sellers at this point, in a post-pandemic world, in the new store world, are only selling what let's say a B-list Marvel or DC used to do, without getting into the specifics.
But
that's the change in single-issue sales.
Like, that's the comics industry in general, though, too.
Right.
I mean, you look at that, like, I'm sure like, how many comics do you actually sell? Like, when you go to shows, right? Like,
we bring a spinner rack of new comics, and that's it. Everything else we bring to a show is toys.
Right. And that's the same thing, like, you go to Comic-Con. Every Comic-Con ever, like, there are some guys in booths that are selling comics, but, like, it's pretty few and far between. Like, that's, there's, like, 2 booths worth or something.
And what are they selling at those booths? What are the comics they're selling? They're not the newest issues. They're, hey, here's the variant covers that Nick was just bemoaning.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have got the couple guys that are selling the old school, rarities and Golden Age, Silver Age stuff.
Yeah. Or you got the guys doing the hot flips where it's like, oh, it's the first appearance of this guy who showed up 6 months ago. It's the hottest character ever, and right now it's a $500 book. But in a year when no one cares anymore, it'll be $10.
Yeah.
See also Joker's daughter, and soon to be see also Punchline.
Right.
Wait, isn't Punchline Joker's? Oh, wait, yeah, no, those are two different characters. Okay.
See?
Yeah. Yeah.
But going back to Peter's, thought about the, 24-hour news cycle, or I guess, everybody, kind of talking about that is now, like, before it was like a huge thing. You're like, oh my God, they have this new character, Venom, or, Wolverine has his own comic book, or just whatever, just, or the Spawn that just came out. And it's like there wasn't that much stuff competing with it, whereas like now, like, this happens and then you're like, oh, but this other crazy, like, did you see that Black Mirror just dropped on Netflix, like, or just whatever it may be.
Yeah, I mean, but the examples you gave were all 30 plus years ago each. It's like when people talk about the ratings that they got on the final episode of MASH, or remember that time Columbo did whatever, and it's like, yeah, we had 3 fucking channels then. You're going to choose one of them. So the numbers are going to be high. It's an event because it's all that you have. You have fewer events. And now it's like every month or every week we're going to have something. So
Peter, I was picking those because those are the ones that kind of shocked me, like when it came out.
Those were your personal touchstones, and I appreciate that.
Right.
Well, I mean, I think too, you have the comic book industry is almost forced to create those artificial moments, because otherwise, you're not going to get the single issue books to have the punch up in sales. So then you throw in Joker's daughter, you throw in Spider-Man now has a sidekick that was lost in another dimension. You have to kill off a character, which Marvel is doing, to a lot of like head scratching.
The biggest influence upon this was the acquisition of Marvel by Disney and the consolidation of the Warner Brothers chain to make DC more corporate. Because if you look at both companies before that, they were interested in long-term storytelling and growing a reader base with good, consistent stories and consistent universes. And you get to this place where the suits took over and said, all right, we need to make a return on this to pay our stockholders. And I don't care what you got to do, but you got to make big numbers by the end of this quarter. And so you start getting the big spike event, or the new #1, or the dumb crossover, or, every book suddenly has a 1 in 100 variant to bump sales. And all of a sudden it has become all about shareholder return on value and not about long-term consistent growth.
But the
DC Comics was irreparably damaged when they lost Paul Levitz.
But we've been through these ebbs and flows of that before. Like, we were talking about the launch of the Image universe in the 90s. And the 90s comic books, the vast majority of books that were published in the 90s were atrocious to read. And a lot of it, again, was speculation of this is going to be a hot cover, hot character. Everything's got a hologram on it. Everything's got, special variants. And that was all over the place. So this is not new. It's just the current trend right now, and who knows when it'll come back. Because Nick, to your point, these media companies need incubators, and comic books are a great incubator.
But right now, the suits don't realize that. Right now, the suits don't see that value.
That it'll change again, and they will realize that'll be a great incubation, venue.
From your lips to God's ears. May it be so.
Yeah. Well, hey, you got a bunch of writers right now who aren't working in Hollywood, so they need paychecks or something. So maybe we'll get a surge of better quality comics out of this.
I mean, do you know what comic book page rates are? I assure you, they're not going to stoop to write for comics.
I mean, you got to eat.
Yeah.
Or at least you maybe just not even that you have to eat, but you have the bandwidth to do it, because now you have some time.
Well,
you wanted to do a passion project. And now you have the time to do it. I was listening to an interview with Eve Ewing, who's the new writer of the Black Panther book. She's the creator, or not the creator. She was the writer on Ironheart, and she's a local writer, so she lives in Chicago. She teaches at University of Chicago, and like I said, she teaches at University of Chicago. She teaches at an Ivy League prestigious school. She has said in interviews, like, when she writes comics because she loves the medium, she loves some of these characters, she wants to tell these stories. She's not going to just, Marvel has put offers in front of her that she's like, no, I don't need this for the money. I want to do this because I want to do it. And so, we might get some of that with this. And that is nice to see, to tie that back into Transformers. That is nice to see Kirkman being someone who has some passion around this and wants to see this succeed, and also has a lot of business savvy when it comes to how to sell books. Because honestly, as entertaining as the IDW books were, I don't think a lot of the folks at IDW had a ton of business savvy of how to sell books.
I couldn't comment on that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm optimistic about this, is because, Kirkman is a guy who loves his stuff and he knows how to write. So
Nicholas Prime is optimistic. I buy it. Okay, go for it.
Nick just likes to be optimistic so that he has even more to bemoan when his eventual hopes and dreams are crushed.
God, and Peter, stop being such a negatron.
And I live on, like you say, everyone needs to eat. I feed on Nick's suffering. So it all comes back together.
I knew it.
Didn't Negatron turn into a canoe of some sort? It's a Family Guy joke.
Yeah, you're mixing two memes. Well, the Family Guy thing and then the be an Optimus Prime, not a Negatron.
But I think he was called Negatron in the Family Guy bit.
I thought they called them by the names in Family Guy. I've seen like 4 episodes of Family Guy ever, and most people it's because it's like, you got to watch this thing. They've mentioned Transformers. You remember Transformers? And I say, okay.
No, this is this quality little Transformers gag. You even got Frank Welker doing the voice of Megatron.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. When you get Chris Latta back on Cobra Commander or Starscream, I'll pay attention.
Come on. We got a perfectly good Starscream.
I'll give you that.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. A good Rat Trap, too.
Yeah.
All right. So, I feel like I've talked about this before with like people. I don't know if I brought up Lucas with you, but the NFL draft is one of those things that I get really excited about, and then really like down to earth after it happens, because you get all excited and pumped before it happens, and then it happens and you realize football season itself doesn't start for 6 months. So we got Void Rivals #1, and it's exciting because we kind of got a new Transformers book, but not really, and the actual Transformers book itself won't start for another 6 months.
Right.
So
October, right?
Yeah, October. So it's just like
just in time for New York Comic Con.
Well, Phil, I think that the problem is that you're a Bears fan. Is really the
yeah.
The Bears.
We are a fan base that does genuinely have more happiness in the off season than we do during the actual season itself.
Yes. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that's where I don't know. I'm curious. So this Void Rivals is going to be a monthly book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up until October. And I guess it'll continue potentially going, right? Is this?
Well, let me see what I can tell you right now what they have solicited so far. So let's see. Logging into my Diamond account.
I think it's also
Search
interesting that they
database.
are doing 2 G.I. Joe books and only 1 Transformers book currently.
Yeah, what up with that? Transformers is better than G.I. Joe. Why do they get 2 books and we only get 1?
I don't have an answer for that.
G.I. Joe's getting 3 books. They're rebooting or restarting the numbering on Larry Hama's story, which is basically Marvel 1982 still trucking along.
Still going.
Oh, man. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Which is again,
we are solicited up through issue 3 so far. They haven't announced anything beyond Void Rivals 3,
Yeah.
but that's just because comics are solicited 3 months in advance.
Now they did show a preview of issue 2.
Mhm.
Pardon me, I haven't looked at it yet. I'm trying to avoid it because I genuinely want to see what happens next.
Mm-hmm.
How many pages are in a comic these days, Nick? Is it still 22?
22, I think, yeah.
Okay. So, like, when you have a 4-issue preview, it's like, oh, now I've already seen 20% of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says here that Void Rivals number 2 is 32 pages. Now, is that 10 pages of advertisements? I don't know.
Yeah.
I assume yes.
Now, something, Nick, I'm curious for you to look up right while you're in the system.
Yeah,
they said you could go and order Optimus Prime and Transformers and Duke and Cobra already right now. Can you?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
Or at least they're not yet solicited through Diamond.
Okay.
You can go to your local comic shop and say, "Hey, I'd like to sign up for the Energon universe, please," and they'll go, "Okay, sure." You can totally do that.
Yeah. So, Nick, have you seen spoilers for Rise of the Beast?
Yeah, I've read all the spoilers.
Okay. So we had a big thing that happened at the end of Rise of the Beast where we now have G.I. Joe crossing over with Transformers in the movie.
Right.
Hasbro dropped something in their HasLab teaser for the Dragonfly that mentioned the word Energon. And now we've got G.I. Joe and Transformers crossing over comics. How much of this is all tied together in your guys' thought process?
Well, I imagine that's why G.I. Joe has 3 books. I imagine, they're going to have the next movie that's a live action film. And so they're going to want to build up material to sell for that movie.
I just want to say on a personal note that Transformers and G.I. Joes are always tied together in my thoughts. I can't extricate them. They hurt. Fires, burning.
Breaking them apart would be like shooting up Bumblebee.
Were you on the show last week? I didn't have a chance to watch it yet.
I know no one pays attention to me, and that's okay.
No, I didn't know. Were you on the show?
Who was running the show last week? I don't remember.
Yes, Peter, me, and Rick's feet were on the show.
Rick's feet. Oh, Rick lying down with the phone 20 feet away from him with the dog barking. Oh, that was classic. He's like on his side, like,
All right. The Void Rivals trade paperback hasn't even been solicited on Amazon yet. I just want to go check for that because they solicit things way earlier. Oh,
you just haven't found the listing yet.
I should also mention that this is all happening in the middle of Image switching distributors.
Oh.
Switching from Diamond to Lunar. So I don't know if it's issue 3 or issue 4 is going to be the first one that comes from Lunar. Yeah. So that's the whole thing.
I don't know much about that, so I don't know. I'm sure that means a lot to you guys in the comic book retail world.
Yes. Diamond has been pretty much the only distributor since a little before I started at the shop up until 2020. So 20 plus years of them being the only game in town.
Monopolies, man. It's the American way. USA.
Yeah, sometime I'll tell you the story about how they weren't declared a monopoly. But this is a longer conversation. I shouldn't get into it here and now.
We've been on for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
except for that 45
if you're a retailer,
minutes.
it's a big headache that there are 3
we
distributors carrying various things now.
We didn't start till 9:30, and then we had 10 minutes in the middle.
It was I'm teasing. We started at 9:45, and we have 45 minutes of technical difficulties. We've been on for 8 minutes. It's all good. Bill's been frozen on my screen for about 15 minutes, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm frozen in the
chat too. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, Phil.
Everyone's
trying to
just
think
getting
if
to
there are any
check out my
other-
Death Triangle hat.
Any other Void Rivals related secrets or things I can let off on? Did we mention the second printing cover variants that specifically feature Jetfire?
No, we didn't talk about that yet. Those are
No,
kinda
and they're
cool looking.
delightful.
They are. They have announced that Void Rivals 1 is going to a second printing because, again, publishers only care about that they're sold out. They don't care if you're sold out. So they're doing the second printing, which it theoretically is for the retailers who didn't take the phone call and get the secret information and so didn't know it was a Transformers book. So now they have another bite at this apple. And
And they get the cooler covers.
Yeah, they get the cooler covers, yes. So the cover A of the second printing is just Jetfire against an Autobot logo. It's pretty cool. Do you have those images handy you could show on screen, Peter? We'll let him illustrate for us.
If I wasn't lazy, I could like show it myself, but
Right. So that's the cover A of the second printing, which is nice. And then the cover B is an homage to my favorite book when I was 5 years old. It's Jetfire as Grover in The Monster at the End of the Book. It is so very clever, and I am so very impressed by it. And I am very excited for that cover.
I have
Yes,
my
in this
copy
case, it's
from
the
when I was a
bot that's in the
kid.
book.
Yeah. I have my copy of Monster at the End of the Book in the garage, which was the one that I read to my daughter when she was
Yeah.
very, very tiny. We have matching Soundwave onesies.
Oh.
Pretty cool.
I don't like. Do we even know if Transformers are going to show up more in this book, or are they? Is Jetfire just gone back to his home planet, and then we'll get more Transformers in October?
They have not said. I have no further knowledge on the subject than I cannot say.
I am willing to keep buying Void Rivals on the off chance that I'll get 2 pages of whoever, or a mention of, hey, what was with that guy? You know,
right.
that was really
Yeah.
weird how that thing happened for 5 minutes. Huh. Anyway, let's
That-
keep talking.
That would be pretty funny. It's like you have a whole run and it ends up being 2 pages of Jetfire. So
Hasbro poisons the Void Rivals well before
Immediately.
immediately just burn all goodwill.
well,
Yeah,
the
this-
thing
you
I'm
know,
kinda
things like that have never
curious
happened
is,
before.
is how big is this universe, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I'm assuming it's, there's Cybertron's obviously involved and Earth is involved, right? But
Mhm.
like how big is this galaxy or galaxies or whatever that you have?
Well, I'm really curious about the Void Rivals' home planet. Their home base is this giant, like, donut that's orbiting a black hole. And they're competing for resources that the black hole is sucking in, right? So I'm wondering if the black hole winds up being a portal to another universe or something. Maybe there's something on the other side. Maybe they'll do something with that.
Maybe we can start with Unicron and then just stop.
Exactly.
There you go.
So I mean, from that aspect, Lucas, yeah, we're starting off with big galactic scope with this, which is I think one of the reasons why they've said that even though G.I. Joe exists in this universe, it's going to have a much more narrow focus than what we're going to get from these other titles.
Right.
And big sprawling space battles is more in the Transformers wheelhouse.
Mhm.
Which I appreciate. When it comes to like shared universes and stuff, I like when, so and so can pop in, or there can be an occasional mixture of, hey, Phil, you're back. You're moving again. Now you're frozen again.
I was gonna say Phil's not back for me. He's still frozen.
You're in a different
Oh, I
position.
can see you just fine, Phil.
Okay.
I can see him, but he's frozen in a different position.
No,
He
I'm
looks
frozen
unhappy.
in the.
Yeah, he doesn't freeze for me at all. I don't know.
I
Okay.
don't know.
But I like the occasional sprinkles. Like here's, we're doing our thing, and there's a sprinkle or a mention. It doesn't have to be like we mentioned with the Hasbroverse, where it was, or like X-Men in the mid to late '90s, where it was just constant crossovers. It just burn you out. You have to get 40 issues a week to follow what's going on. I don't care. And that was what knocked me out of like just Marvel and DC in general when I was a kid. And that's what started breaking me on Transformers a couple of years ago, was all that Hasbroverse nonsense. And then the reboot wasn't any good for me.
But Peter, if you're not reading every issue of X-Men, X-Factor, X-Force, Excalibur, and Uncanny X-Men, how are you going to know everything that happens in Extinction Agenda or Extinction Song crossover?
I'm not. And I'm gonna count on someone like you to fill me in, and then I'll be like, wow, that's just a whole lot that I don't care about.
Yeah.
And I don't want to feel burnt out like that, or have that like dismissive attitude toward Transformers and G.I. Joe, despite having felt that way for the non-Hama G.I. Joe for the last decade or more, and the same feeling for Transformers for the last 3-4 years since the big reboot.
It's so funny with comic books and television and how they compare, and both being, especially newer television these days, or television for the last 20 years, serialized storytelling happens in television all the time, and it happens in comics, and people love it in both mediums. The problem is you don't, for the most part, pay for television. You do for comics. So if that story sucks as a comic, like Nick said, you can't return it. You can't return that book. You can't get your money back. So you're kind of stuck with this thing that is potentially going to just feel like a letdown. And therefore you've spent your time and your money in it. Whereas, television, all right, I spent my time on it, but I didn't really necessarily spend money on it unless you're paying for a premium service. Movies are more serialized storytelling then, but even then they're their kind of own little thing.
They're also intangible. Like if you've spent $5 on a book, or even more if you're buying extra covers and all that other stuff, and you don't like it, now you can't even get rid of it because someone's going to offer you $1 maybe, or just say use it as toilet.
No.
You go on.
Yeah, if you're selling comics, you're not getting that much for them.
Not
the buck is.
There you go. $1 is high rolling.
Yeah.
You want to know what hasn't been subjected to inflation? The quarter bin.
Actually, that's not true. We used to have 50-cent bins at the old shop. We don't have them anymore. Now it's dollar bins.
Oh, okay. There you go. Quarter bins have gone away like the dinosaur.
Man. That's
Cadillacs and dinosaurs.
I will say, though, I am excited that to hear that the other Hasbro properties are not Image. So then that way it's much harder for them to do a crossover, or they're not going to be enticed. So I don't have to read some stupid ROM piece of crap.
To be fair, we still don't know where Mask and Visionaries have landed.
Mask slots nicely into Joe and has done so multiple times.
Yeah.
Right.
So what are you saying? Are you saying stop trying to make Visionaries happen? Visionaries is not going to happen?
I hope. That would be great. That's the hope.
I mean,
the IDW Visionaries weren't even like Visionaries. They weren't like toy or cartoon based Visionaries. It was like a whole new take, and which is fine. You can do that, but if you're trying to rock that nostalgia button, you got to try a little harder and not immediately murder.
Hit the nostalgia button.
Yeah, hit the nostalgia button. Don't just, hey, look, here's the Visionaries you sort of kind of don't remember, and they killed Cup. And he's dead forever, I guess. And he ended up being dead forever.
That was terrible.
It was terrible.
We also don't know where Gem landed, but I don't think that's relevant.
Yeah.
She's in Unity. Yeah.
Truly, truly outrageous.
I think after the Gem movie, Hasbro wants to forget that Gem exists.
So sad. I don't understand why, if you're making a Gem movie, you don't just hire the guy who did Josie and the Pussycats. Film's become a goddamn cult classic.
I haven't seen that either.
You didn't see? Oh, it's so good.
Sorry. But, all right, well, I think we've probably been droning on long enough tonight. Is there any other points that we want to touch on before we wrap up?
I do want to give a quick shout out to my local comic book store, Blurred's Underground. They got me 3 of the covers and a poster.
Woo!
Very, very nice.
It's-
I was
it's too
trying to
bad
hang it up behind me.
That
too bad
poster
they
is one
throw-
per shop, so hang on to that.
Yeah, no, I intend to. It's very nice. The downside to posters like this is that they have all the fold lines in it,
Folds.
but it is,
If
we
you're
got
holding
big
it
old
up, no one
Jetfire
can
right
see it.
here.
Yeah, I was gonna
What's
say,
that?
unfortunately, since you've
Oh,
been
I'm
frozen for
frozen.
10 minutes.
Just
Yeah,
pretend it's Jetfire, everyone. Pretend that Phil's holding up
Yeah.
Jetfire. There he is.
Picture
It
of
says
Jetfire
Void
with
Rivals.
the 2 Void Rivals characters on his shoulder.
There
See?
you go.
There you go.
But all right. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. And thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to Zaldron and Ron and Duke Nukem as well. And Catherine earlier on as well. So, but, and then I guess, let's see, Zaldron mentioned about the book club, which is Sunday nights at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central on the TF Talk Discord. I think they're doing some kind of anime thing, I guess.
Super God Master Force episodes 5 and 6.
Oh, there you go. All right. Fun times. So, all right. Well, thank you guys. And I think I haven't talked to Phil about this. We'll have to kind of figure out for next week. It'll probably be a little bit later in the week because I'm not available Monday, Tuesday. So, to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know what my schedule is next week yet.
So,
My wife's got a newer schedule, so I'm still getting the hang of that.
Yeah. Apologize for bouncing around. I know it's probably not great for the viewers that you guys had to worry about. It's like, oh, it's Monday night this week and Tuesday night and whatever. But unfortunately, sometimes our schedules don't line up here. So, but
And also go check out our interviews on the YouTube page with Daniel Warren Johnson. So hear
Yeah.
a little bit about his background, why he's got the art style he does, some cool Calvin and Hobbes mentions in there, why he was drawing a wrestling book, and then some of his thoughts on Transformers.
awesome. Yeah, thanks for catching up with him. That's great to hear more about that.
Glad to do it.
Oh, before we sign off, we are just about a month out from San Diego Comic-Con. So, if I were you guys, I might stay tuned for more news there. Maybe even things to buy.
There you
Stay
go.
tuned.
Wow, wait, there's going to be exclusives at Comic-Con?
I know, what a concept, right?
You're going to meal for us, right?
No, I think they're online only. I don't think they actually have exclusives at the show anymore.
The publishers do.
Wow.
Which we now care about comic book publishers again.
Right. So, all right. Well, thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week.